Thank you very much for inviting me here to speak today. I'm really kind of quite chuffed to get invited to an event like this. I'd actually, in my session, I'm going to try and take us into the future rather than just talk about today. So instead of talking about 1948 to today, I'm going to actually try and make us think about 2025. So in that concept, I would also like to talk about two-speed IT in education. So I'm sure this is something most people in the room have started hearing about. And I'm going to try and show you how things like the cloud can help you adopt this kind of model. So a little bit about me then. Thanks to Adrian, who mentioned that I am a sort of part of the Microsoft MVP group. So that means that I do a lot of community-based activities. So many people here will have staff who are interested in learning about IT. One of the things I'd like to call out is I do something called Integration Monday, which is a community webcast, where we have lots of sessions about integration and cloud technologies. So if anybody likes what I talk about today and would like to learn more about that stuff, come and check us out on Monday nights. But really, my background is that I've done a lot of work with companies who are adopting the cloud. So I did a lot of work with Bupa Healthcare a few years ago. They're now one of Microsoft's biggest Azure customers, and I've done a lot of work with Northumbria recently. And we've kind of been recognized for the work we've done by Microsoft as being a sort of gold standard of how to do things with Azure. So I think that's kind of why Mark asked me to come and speak to you guys. So what I'd like to talk a little bit about today is something called Vision 2025, which is specific to Northumbria. That's kind of our vision for the future. I'd also like to talk about two-speed IT, but the bit I really want to talk to you guys about is these example projects and kind of how some of the concepts and the technologies we've used have turned into real projects, because I think that's something everyone will find quite interesting. I'm also going to show you guys a little bit of Minecraft stuff later on as well, so hopefully if you find my whole presentation boring, at the very least, if anyone's got kids or grandkids, there might be some ideas you can take home and play with them with. So with no further ado then, so a little bit about Vision 2025. So at the university, we came out with this business strategy recently called 2025, and this was all about the changes in the industry, how the industry is becoming a bit more competitive, and what the university needs to look like in the future. And they had this really great business strategy, but our IT angle to this strategy was really thinking about what does IT need to look like to support 2025. Now, as an architect, that gives me a really big problem because, right, let's be straight here. I don't know what IT is really going to look like in 2 to 3 years' time, let alone 10 years' time. That's the way things are changing. We just have to deal with that. So the most important thing within that strategy from an IT perspective is being able to adapt to change, being able to do new things, being able to innovate. With that, two-speed IT is something I think is really important as well. So if we bring that in a little bit now, the background to two-speed IT really came from the customer perception of IT departments not really doing a very good job. So I pulled a few statistics here from a few different sources. Mainly, I think it was Information Week or something like that I got it from. But it was, the general theme is that in most businesses, the business side aren't really very happy with what they get from the IT side. Without going into specifics on that, the net effect of it was really we have this thing called stealth IT, which is a big challenge for us about how do we stop the business going off and just circumventing the IT department and doing their own thing. What we really want to be doing is doing this together. But in order to do that, we have to change this customer perception so we're seen as being a partner, somebody who helps the business get things done, not have the perception where the business view IT as being a blocker. So with that in mind, Gartner's response to that was this thing called two-speed IT, and I kind of pulled a statement from Gartner here where they said, by 2017, 75% of organizations will have a two-speed IT capability. Now, we're now in spring 2016, and I've been speaking to people at different events for a while now about two-speed IT, and one of the first things I do is go, how many people here have a two-speed IT capability? And I haven't yet had a single person put their hand up. So that's quite interesting, that. So what I find is that most companies are doing bits of two-speed IT, but just don't really talk about it. But I think having a better understanding of what it means can kind of help you just take more advantage of what you kind of do to a degree already. So a little bit of background on two-speed IT, then there's the idea of two analogies of how to explain how IT works. So Gartner used a marathon runner and a sprinter to describe their two modes. So a marathon runner is usually all about mission-critical systems. It's about conventional approaches to IT, but the real drivers here are all about stability, reliability, taking very few risks. These are really great for the systems that you're really concerned about, the things that you don't want to break. But at the same time, they have the sprinter mode. So sprinter mode's all about taking risks. It's about being agile. It's about removing bureaucracy and kind of getting the job done. And for a lot of customers, if you think of the business side of your organization, they really want you to be able to deal with these things where they want a quick response. Sometimes they don't mind if you fail, as long as you fail quickly and it doesn't cost a lot of money. Now, if we think about what that relationship to cloud versus two-speed IT is, this is where I think cloud has a number of benefits which can really help organizations looking at two-speed IT. So just in the interest of time, I'm going to focus more on this Mode 2 Sprinter IT, because that's where I think you guys will be most interested. I think that there's opportunities for cloud in Mode 1, which is really around things like cost savings and various shut things off when you're not using it kind of thing. But today we're going to focus on this Mode 2 Sprinter. So Mode 2 Sprinter, really they get the benefits of IT, particularly on things like platform as a service, where you can provision things quickly, you're getting rid of the management, you can do things like continuous delivery, all the really good things that we want. Excuse me, I'm actually having my last bottle of sugary drink today after the budget. So I really want to talk about this kind of agile thing. And I'm an architect, and I kind of thought, what does this mean to me? What's my role in this new kind of cloud sprinter kind of pattern? So to me, cloud gives me new ways to solve new problems to deal with. The biggest one for me is opportunities to excite the business, and that's kind of what I'm hoping I'll show you guys today. Ways to empower my two-speed IT teams, so I still have to think about these guys doing the marathon stuff. That's every bit as important as it always has been. But I want ways to demonstrate technology leadership, so when my sprinter team might run off and do some new project, I want to kind of show them the way to go. So one of the first things that we did at Northumbria to help do this was we created a reference architecture. Now I bet if I came to many companies, and I've actually done this, I'll go to a company and I'll say, right, show me a reference architecture. And I usually get one of two things. I get a big Word document that's 6 months to 2 years out of date, or I get a whiteboard that the cleaner's half rubbed out. Those are the two typical reference architectures. But in Northumbria, we've actually created something called Acme University, which is kind of a model of what our university should look like. Now we host this in the Microsoft Cloud, and we've set this whole thing up. So we've included things like, we've got some SAP capability, some Active Directory, BizTalk, Office 365, and we've got a whole bunch of different things where we can use to kind of look at how our systems might work. And we can, rather than, someone comes along and says, can you give me an impact analysis on this? I'm not guessing anymore. I can actually try stuff really easily. So one of the things we did to complement Acme University was, if you think right back to the start in Vision 2025. So I said to the guys, well, look, we need to really challenge ourselves about what future IT might be like. And we just kind of came up with this crazy idea of, well, kids who are 10 years old are going to be our customers, our students in 2025. What is it that they use in IT that they're really keen to use? If we can hook in the IT that they think about into our reference architecture, that's probably the biggest challenge we can give ourselves to say, can we future-proof our IT maybe? So with that in mind, what we did is we included Minecraft in our reference architecture. And the idea was we can actually simulate some scenarios in Minecraft to prove the concept of how these things work. So, give me a little bit of a pinch of salt here, and I'll kind of show you what I mean. Okay, let's talk about some real projects then. So I'm going to tell you first off about a project which was our staff HR self-service portal. So our current system state is that we use SAP for HR. And anybody who's ever worked with SAP before knows a couple of things. One, it's a nightmare to integrate with, really difficult, really expensive. If I want to, HR team use it and are experts, but I want to go, right, we've got, 2,000 to 3,000 staff members in the university. if I want to train that many people to use SAP to manage their own HR record, that's going to cost me a fortune, and it's going to be an absolute training nightmare. So our challenge was, how can we create a self-service portal that's sort of really intuitive to use but integrates with SAP? Now, what we did was, in our reference architecture, we've got this hybrid integration scenario. So in Minecraft, we had a few demos where we could actually go through an API hosted in the cloud, come on-premise, and hook into some of our line of business systems. And we could kind of show the business, look, this is what hybrid integration looks like. So it's pretty easy. But, you know, a lot of people in the IT department kind of understand hybrid integration, maybe not as well as we'd like, but generally people kind of get that. But certainly when you're talking to stakeholders outside of IT, this doesn't make any sense, really. It's not something people are familiar with. So what we wanted to do is kind of show what that might look like. So if I just jump into my demo here. So the first thing I'm going to show you guys, if I jump into Minecraft. So I've got this little world that, I'll just stretch the screen a bit so you can see easier. So I've got this little world that's got a whole bunch of demos in it. I could show you the demos all day. There's that many of them, but I'm going to cherry pick a couple of really interesting ones. So the first thing I'm going to show you here is we've got our monitoring dashboard in Minecraft. So how this works is this big thing on the screen. This is called an advanced monitor, and it connects to an advanced computer, which is the little yellow block at the side. Excuse me. So what the advanced computer does is that periodically goes and queries our API hosted in Azure. That comes down on-prem. And the data you're seeing there on the screen is actually the live system status for all of our key systems in Northumbria University right now. So if you're a staff member or a student and you go onto our intranet, that's exactly the same data that you would see, with one slight exception. So to illustrate some of the features in Minecraft, you might notice the bottom one says red, demo system. So what I actually did there is I added an extra one to it so that I can have that little block at the end. When it refreshes, if any systems are red, I can launch a firework to alert me that one of the systems might be down. So I've kind of just put that in for you guys so you can see. But when I show the rest of the demos, that refreshes about every 5 minutes. So if you notice a firework go off in the background, that's what it is. So the bit I want to show you, so this was the very first demo that we did. And you know, this kind of crazy idea all really started from my son. So, you know, he actually, as a 10-year-old, he's worked out the concept of copyright. So he kind of tries to charge me anytime I show anyone the demo, which is quite interesting. Having a 10-year-old explain his idea, which he doesn't realize is copyright, is quite interesting as well. But so one day I came home from work, and I kind of, you know, saw him playing away on Minecraft, and he goes, "Dad, can you teach me how to code? Because I'm trying to do this thing." And I was like, "What do you mean how to code?" So I went and got involved, and we do this demo. So this is actually a computer craft demo for kids where you've got a password-protected door. So normally what you do is you go up, you put in your username and password, and you just go through the door when it opens. So what we did is we decided instead we've got, you know, when I looked at what he was doing, I realized you could do HTTP and JSON from Minecraft. So as an architect and developer, that opens up a lot of opportunity for me. You know, that's like sort of Candyland now. So what we've done is we've hooked this door into Active Directory. So we've got enterprise-grade security protecting our Minecraft door. It's pretty cool, isn't it? So what we'll do then, we'll click on the terminal, and I'll go put my username, put my password in. Access is granted, and the door opens. Let me go through. And that red light all around it, that's called redstone, and that turns all the lights on in the room when I go in, and then the door shuts after 20 seconds. But what was really cool is, you know, we got this up and running, and my boy goes, "But Dad, what about hackers? We need to deal with hackers, so how do we solve this?" So what we ended up doing was, if you put the wrong username and password in, so I need to be a little bit careful on this bit, so access is denied, and we get a zombie. Do you know what? I've put it on the wrong mode. Hang on. Bear with me a moment. Right, so we'll run that again. There we go. So we get denied and we get a zombie gets spawned to come and attack us for trying to hack the room. And also the trapdoor opens, so you'd fall to your death if you fell down there. So a little bit of fun, but it was great to think, 10-year-olds starting to think about security. So if we go back to the real world, that's quite good fun there. But in Northumbria, this is our self-service staff portal. So if I'll just refresh this for a moment because there we go. So there, I go in and I impersonate one of the users in the test environment, and I can see the guy I'm looking at. I can see how much leave he's got. Nice little graph showing there, showing his available balances. We've got things like flexi time, absence. If I want to go and create a new leave request, I can go in and I can choose what kind of leave he wants. I can go and see how much time he's taken off by month. So if we go to March, and I can go and see each day, I can see he's got some leave booked this month. If he wants to book, say, I don't know, where are we, 24th? If I picked the right month there. So you can see when I pick a day there, the days with, I don't know if you guys can see too well on the screen, there's like a little icon showing other team members, so you can see a list of other team members who were off on that day. Now, pretty intuitive to use this app. It's also fully mobile responsive and everything, so it's dead easy for people to try and use on any device. The key thing here is that that's actually hosted in Azure, and all the data that you see there comes from SAP in real time through hybrid integration. So there's no data actually in the cloud, it's all fully integrated. And if we drop back to the slides here, what you'll see is that the architecture for this app, we've got a service on-prem that uses a little widget to integrate with SAP, but the key thing is that middleware piece of API, hybrid integration, and services is the exact same architecture I've just shown you in the Minecraft demo before. So if we look at the features we've used on Azure, there's a few different ones there: hosting in Azure, hybrid connectivity through Service Bus Relay. And that was a really great project where we got to the point where our SAP guys would identify a BAPI that would give us the data we wanted. 2 hours later, in the test environment, we'd have that data displayed on the screen for testers to use. Now, from a SAP integration perspective, that's like rocket speed. It's really cool. Next one, we're going to look at IoT. So this time, we've got to think of a different challenge. So the business context is we have resources in the university that are limited. Let's take the example of maybe I'm a student, I want to find a free PC. I've got 3 locations, 20 buildings, 5,000 PCs. Where's the best place to go for a PC? There's other concepts. Maybe we look at room utilization, so maybe we work out who's using what rooms at what time, and we can adjust the timetable. Maybe save some money by shutting down buildings, something like that. Now, what we did in this demo was we used Minecraft and we streamed telemetry data up to Azure, and then we can create some reports on it. So if I have a quick demo of that for you guys. So over here I've got my Power BI dashboard. So I'm sure some people have used Power BI before, which is a really cool new reporting tool. Kind of sits between Azure and Office 365. And here I've got just a simple report where I've got a counter, which is going to be the visualization of my telemetry data. So it's going to basically count up as things are happening in my Minecraft world. So I'm going to just shrink that down a bit so everyone can see. Right, so I need to go and find the right bit here. So there's my firework going off. So if we go over here, then here, there's 2 bits I can show you guys the telemetry demo, but this is my favorite one. So here we've got a train track. Unfortunately, a big slime monster's sitting on my train cart, so you can't really see that, but you get the idea that this is going around the track. Now, if you think about TfL have spent millions getting this idea about where are my trains, what are they doing, what speed are they going. What we've got here is this track where we've got this little red line, a little red bit of track, which kind of powers the cart, so it just keeps perpetually going around the track. Now, the bit that's quite interesting is if I come over here, you'll see as the train goes across that little kind of funny square, you'll see it light up. Now, what that's doing is it's called a detector rail. and that sends a signal to say the cart's just gone past this bit of track. From that signal, that sends that up to the cloud, and I'm just going to shrink this down, sorry, because you can't see. You can't see there. So what you'll see is that as it goes around, you'll see it sort of counting through in the background as the train goes around the track past each sensor. Now, this particular demo, is something me and my son actually did in about 2.5 hours. We didn't write any code in the cloud. It was all just configure so I'll show this. So we configure something called a stream analytics job, which feeds off this thing called an Azure Event Hub. So Minecraft hits like a storm of events to the Event Hub. Stream analytics job, you can see on the graph there, the data going through my job. It kind of gives you a way of doing queries on this stream of data, so I can do aggregations and all sorts of fancy queries. But in this case, I'm just pushing it straight through to Power BI. And that's how in a couple of hours I'm able to create a really simple demonstration here that shows the concept of IoT. There's a few other places in the world I'm doing similar things to this, but for the interest of time, I'll kind of just show you guys that one. But if you think about, when I talk to business stakeholders and I'm explaining IoT and they don't really get what it means because they can't visualize it, as an architect I can go, well, look, this is what it might look like. Straight away, that non-technical person can understand, a 5-year-old can get that. I've actually run a Minecraft club after school at my little one's school, and they've kind of played around with some of this stuff, so it's really easy to understand what's going on. Now, if we think back to the real world again, so right now in the university, we've got agents on all of our desktops that are kind of capturing usage about what machine's in use, what it's doing, streaming it up to event hubs, and I can actually have Power BI reports that I can kind of use to work out what machines are where. So we've got that going. We need to do a little bit more work on the presentation side for students, but that could give us a really great way of going, here's the best place to go for a PC. You've got an hour to do some self-study. The room nearest to the student union bar is going to be busy. We all know that, but the ones maybe just around the corner might have loads of free PCs, so you can get 55 minutes study time instead of 30 minutes study time. Times that by a year, that's quite a lot of study time. So if we think about that, the outcomes of that project, the real big wins are the fact that, one, it's really easy to set up and get going, but actually it would burst to really high scale as well, which is quite cool. Provisioning time's nothing. We set that up in 3 hours. Cost-wise, peanuts as well. So, things like streaming messages to an Azure Event Hub in the cloud, you can do 1 billion messages for about $40. So, that's just peanuts in terms of high scale. So if we think back to where the university is, then so we've gone through this journey about cloud adoption. We're in a really good place now. We've got this ability to kind of think about, innovative future thinking projects, and we're delivering on these things. We've got some architecture blueprints, which I think is something that's really important. So common ways of delivering cloud-based solutions for not just a cloud-first strategy, but a hybrid strategy, which I think is the real place most people want to be. We've got demand-focused IT, so we're delivering stuff based on what people want, not just on what we think we might need. By using kind of two-speed type methods, we've got this idea of sprinter IT where we're creating these projects that are innovative, we need to deliver quickly, but we've also got our mission-critical systems that are people who work in a marathon-style fashion. They're used to looking after and having reliable and have good system uptime and confidence in these things. So I think a great analogy I read, if you look into this particular bit, if you use the law enforcement analogy from the US, they always talk about protect and serve. If you think about maybe your marathon runner IT is all about protecting your assets, your sprinter IT is all about serving your customers. And just to kind of wrap up, what I'd really say is that there's something that's really important if you start adopting two-speed IT type ways of working. The first one is you've got to avoid this idea that marathon runners and sprinters are going to go off in separate directions, because you'll just end up with two sides to your department that don't work well together. Even though they work in different ways, they need to collaborate. You've got to think about things like as your team scales up and scales down, which is a really common thing in today's world. The chances are systems developed by your sprinter team might end up being looked after by a marathon team. So although they work at different speeds, they still need to work together. And I think we had a really great example of that in our SAP integration, where it was our marathon runner team supporting our sprinter team. With that in mind, I'd just like to open up any questions, or if anybody, I'll be around for today, so because I'm a Microsoft MVP, I can talk about Microsoft tech without having to kind of say the same things Mark says. I can be a bit more kind of open about stuff. Sorry, is that a bit too? Yeah. But anyway, I'm around, so if anybody wants to come and just pick my brain or have a bit of a chat about some of the things they're doing, feel free to grab me and sort of grab a chat. Thank you.
Michael, thank you very much. I never thought I would see Minecraft on the screen at UCISA, so amazing. Now, we have got some time for questions for Michael, so has anyone got a question? We've got some roving mics. Questions? Michael, I've got one, and it might be a bit of a naive question, but I'm just amazed that you're saying you and your 10-year-old son can sit there in 2.5 hours and do some amazing sort of development and integration. And I'm going to embarrass my development team back at home now, because it takes weeks and months to do some of these things back in the office. Yeah. So what are we doing wrong?
Well, there's a couple of angles to that. So I think the first thing is, I think in most offices you'll find that there's lots of really great ideas that maybe don't get the airtime. So I would think, if you can do anything, go back to your office and speak to the people you never normally speak to, because you'll probably find they've got some great ideas that you're not leveraging. I think the other thing is, it's all about investing in people today. So people are really struggling with, how do I bring my entire team to the cloud? I may have like 1 or 2 people who really know their stuff, but I need to bring the whole department on a journey. So I think there's big training things. But I think when you come to the kids angle, one of the things I'm really doing at the minute is, my whole reason for getting involved in the Minecraft After School Club is, I've got 30 kids that I work with a head teacher at the local school with on a Friday afternoon, and they give me ideas that I would never think of in the workplace, and none of my colleagues would think of. They just think in a different way to how we think. And I learned that a few years ago, and I really want to kind of sort of deprogram myself to be open to new things, so that when we look at technology in the workplace, you're not thinking in this kind of like blinkered way that we often do. So that's kind of my view on that.
Okay, thank you. So any other questions for Michael? Oh, yeah. One at the front here.
I think it was you.
Jerry Nyman. Fascinating presentation. One of the things that struck me there, particularly with the Minecraft logging, is I'm immediately thinking, how secure is that? Yeah, it's secure from Minecraft off to SAP, off to AD rather. What about the security of Minecraft itself? Is it easy to get the sprinters to think of these marathon sort of aspects in the tool sets that they're using and thinking that all the way through?
Really, really great question. As an architect, that's one of my biggest challenges. So if we talk really specifically about the demo, Minecraft's making a call over SSL up to an API in the cloud, so kind of the hybrid stack downwards is as secure as our production setup. Obviously, the Minecraft bit itself is probably a little bit vulnerable if you were, if you had a team environment and stuff. But in the real world, less so at the university because it's a smaller team. But a few years ago, I worked with Bupa, and I tech-led their cloud adoption. And they had multiple companies around the world with lots of agile teams, both onshore and offshore. The biggest challenge was, how do you manage? It's almost like stealth IT within IT. So I've got this agile team determined to hit a 2-week sprint, just looking to get the job done, who'll kind of cut corners if they can. As an architect, how do I manage and govern that? That's my big problem about getting that on. But I think the real secret, it's all about, I come from an integration background, so I get that actually the secret to integration is collaboration. So by having your little network of people in each team who you're talking to regularly and knowing what they're doing, and making sure that the team, the minute they hit a blocker, feel comfortable to escalate and go, look, we want to we want to do something, it's a little bit different to what we do. Can we have a chat about this? And the thing I said about architecture blueprints, which I couldn't really elaborate too much on for time, but I kind of try to encourage the guys to go, right, here's the blueprints of how we normally build stuff. If you're not building, if you need to verge from that blueprint, that's when we need to chat. But if you're within the blueprint, then you're generally fine. But to me, it's all about collaboration across teams is the secret.
Right, thank you. Any more? Oh, a question at the back there. Just time for one more question, I think.
Hi, it's recently I've been coming from a corporate environment and first time into education. Corporate environments with the cloud journey, they're there. For my time where I am at Cranfield, I'm finding that the cloud is the direction we need to go into, but the team and the business are very, very skeptical, even though in the corporate environment the data is just as sensitive and just as needs to be just as secured. So how did you overcome and win over the business to get into that journey into the cloud?
Yeah, I think it's a shame one of my colleagues isn't here who he kind of was on the journey, kind of, the business challenge side. They really engaged with me around the technical stuff. So they kind of solved a little bit of that problem before I got involved. But what I can tell you is that a large part of it is the realization of a couple of things. So number one, a cloud data center is more secure than your own data center, bottom line, and I've sat and heard, I probably should be careful about saying this, I've sat and heard IT departments champion themselves about being so great departments, and then you go, oh, tell me about how you're doing this, and you find that, that maybe they're not doing automation the way some of the big vendors would, and all sorts of different things. But the bottom line is, you need a hybrid of data center. There's bits you don't want to move to the cloud, but there's bits that you absolutely can benefit from moving to the cloud, and they're the bits that you should target first, which is why I kind of talk about hybrid so much. That there's things like we might have SAP in the proof of concept environment, but I can't imagine a day in the foreseeable future where we'd move our production SAP to the cloud maybe. So it's working out what are the best targets to take advantage of the cloud. And then what I found in most cases is the minute you start having some success, that's when the game starts changing, because people suddenly go, once they've seen the benefits of it, of something quite small, they suddenly go, why aren't we using cloud? Because I don't need to wait 6 months to get my kit provisioned. I can click, 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 and there I've got it. And I can turn it off when I'm not using it, so I haven't got 50% of my data center sat doing nothing. And I think that's the journey, is get that first success, make it quite a low risk one, and then shout about it a lot and tell people what you're doing, and then you'll start seeing them encouraging you to do more of it.
Right. Thank you very much, Michael. Can we thank Michael again, please?